Excelente. Este es el inicio del matriarcado. Hello, everyone. Today, through these Voices of the Caribbean, we have this great honor to be sitting here with these queens. I invited all of these ladies here today because our voices need to be heard, and we have a lot to say. There's a lot of things that are going on in our communities. And, well, I think hearing everybody's stories from them personally is the best way. So I will allow everyone to introduce themselves, and we're going to speak a bit about our culture, about our history, about our land, about our rights, about what's going on in our community. Queen Velvet does so much work in the community. Before we get into all of these topics, I really want to know more about Solonos. The relationship I have with you is anytime there is someone in need, especially a Black woman, a sister, or anything that needs to be done, I always just pick up the phone. Velvet, we have this situation. What we gonna do? And Velvet comes back. Okay, fix. Next thing, and we move on to that. Yes. So I know you're very active in the community. Please share with us about Solonos, about all of this amazing work you're doing, not just nationally, but internationally for women in the social movement of people of African descent.
Absolutely. Thank you, first of all, my queen, because this is absolutely a sacred space that is necessary for our people. It is necessary that each one of you out there know about us, know what is going on. I can say that Solonos' actual name is Asociación Pro-Tribal Solo Nos. The word Solo Nos is short for Solo Nosotros, which basically means only us. And the concept was born out of knowing that it is our responsibility. It is us who has to take charge. It is us who have to fix the issues, the problems that we have, especially internally, before we go out and try to expose or take help from outsiders. We must, amongst ourselves, clean house first. So in the United States, as I was living in the States many years ago, my son and I started a nonprofit called Only Us. And it started based on that work, Layli. It started based on the work of helping women, helping women who were homeless for the most part, and children that were also with them in that home. We started by delivering food, goods like just hygienic, things like shampoo, just soap, basic washcloths. Then we started to add to that used clothes, and it just grew into something marvelous. By then now, the churches started getting in touch with us. This is in South Carolina, United States. And then the churches started to get with us, and we found out that a couple of the churches actually were sending goods and sending things to the Talamanca area of Costa Rica. Boy, my son and I got excited. So we said, no, we have to focus on that. That's our opportunity to, everything that we may have, used or new, whatever it may be, send it towards our area. And so we did that for several years. After a while, I decided that it's time to come home. It's time to start getting involved. And every time I would come home more, I'm hearing what's going on. I knew from before because they've been trying to take Granddaddy's land for the longest when my grandfather was alive. They would come around and try to bamboozle him into taking pictures and asking for the plano. Yeah. The plano of the papers, right, documentations. Right, Tia? They would come around so often, and every time you would come around, you'd be like, Papa, don't give them nothing. Don't tell them nothing, and don't show them nothing. Yes. Tell them a little bit about that, Tia, and then I'll continue with Solonos.
The thing is that my father, he came here at an early age, and he started working. He was only 17 when he got here. And my father was hardworking, and things were very hard at the time because there were opportunities, but there was no money. So he had decided that he was going to Panama, to the canal. And there were two elders that spoke to my dad and told him, said, Dudley, we have had the experience and We have been to the canal. There's a lot of work there and everything. But what happens when you get there? You work and you party so much and you spend money with women and you end up like us with nothing. He said, there's a lot of virgin land here. Go and get yourself some land and make your farm. And that was the inspiration. My father listened, which is what I think is a great thing for us to do sometimes when our elders speak to us, that we should listen and take advice. He started building those farms. They didn't have no resources. Between two other friends, they decided, let us all make our, get some land and start working it. So they cooperated between themselves. So between the three of them, when one of them were going to the piece that they wanted to work, he was responsible for providing the food. Since they didn't have any money, the food at that time was maybe a roast breadfruit, some coconut oil, and some salt to dip in it. So the person portion that was working the area, he would roast the breadfruit or the yam or the cassava, whatever it was be, and he would stay close to that area. When it was lunchtime, he provided. The next time they would go to the other person's part, and he was responsible for the food. And basically, they did all of this with a little saltfish, yuca, yampi, whatever breadfruit, and coconut oil. He said whenever they was lucky, them had a piece of catfish. But that was it. And gradually, this is how they started. Machete and an axe. There was no saw and no nothing like that.
Electric machine. None of
So
that.
it was very hard work. And they were, they continued. They never gave up. It was hard work. And gradually they cleared a little piece. They started planting a little yam, a little yuca and everything. Eventually they planted the cocoa farms. As they went along, of course they were living here in Wolaba. Wolaba was a small little town, few families. And these people, this place was a swamp. There wasn't much. Water, it would rain for 2-3 months at a time. So everything was underwater. All the houses were built on stilts. And in collaboration, the men of this community, in those days it was around 17 families, they get together and decided we have to drain the water of this community. So that is how you see all those drains that are throughout Wolaba that drain that water to the ocean. That's what they did.
That's
That's what our ancestors did. That's what our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. And that's the reason why sometimes it pains our heart, because we grew up here picking up the coconut from off the beach, making your own coconut oil. We lived in a community. Everybody cooperated. There was no money, but who had yam? If I had yam, I would send yam to the neighbor. He had eggs, he would send eggs to me, and we collaborated. And that spirit of collaboration is what helped us to make Wolaba what it is today.
Beautiful.
And we really, really want to focus on that, because over the years, it seemed like we have lost a lot of that community living. The children, when we were growing up, everybody in the community helped. If you were going to school and your mother, in those days they were having babies, they had them at home. It wasn't like they had hospitals to go to. So what happened? When I was having my baby, the neighbor would come and take care of the other kids, make sure that the hair was combed, they get to go to school, and the other ladies come and help you. What happened to that spirit nowadays? This is what we are trying to revamp, refocus, and get our young people to understand how important this is and how that small initiative brought us where we are today. And I don't even want to get to the land, because we're going to have to talk to the land eventually, right? We'll get to there in a minute.
And and let me just say, everybody, this is my aunt, Loretta Waite Hines. She happens to be amongst our tribal language, the queen of our family, being the eldest. And next to her is my mother, Yolanda Waite Hines, who is our queen as well. And these ladies, along with my uncle who is not here, are the ones who are in charge of our properties. I am second generation, right? We would say third or second. I'm third generation. And now I'm learning and making sure, like Miss Laylee, to learn everything so that I can continue the legacy and not get lost. Mom, tell the people a little bit about what you know when it comes to Wolaba, the lands, just what you can remember about our beautiful community that stands out.
Well, like Velvet said, I'm her mom. And what I can remember about, in terms of community, in the back portion of Puerto Viejo, there was nothing. The folks, the 17 families that my sister talked about, they lived mostly in the beach area. So what we call the cuadrantes, that happened afterward, when each person decided what piece of land they wanted within that community that we know today as Puerto Viejo, because back then that was just woods and swamp. Everybody lived in the beach area. Everybody lived in the beach area. So when you talk about history and you talk about where we're coming from, it never ceased to amaze me, you know, that it all started so small and with nothing, right? My dad was among the founders of people that helped to make Puerto Viejo in the city that it is today.
Absolutely.
And in terms of the farming, my dad did 2 pieces of farmland that as we know them, what we call fincas today. One of the farms that my dad built with the help of, in collaboration with those folks that my sister talked about, was up on what we call the hill. And at that time, now it is part of the indigenous reservation. My dad had a foresight, which was to title his land. And that's a little mistake that a lot of the folks and a lot of our ancestors and grandfathers and great-grandfathers didn't do. Luckily, my father was one of the few that titled his land. So when that became the indigenous reservation, it was not easy for them to take it away. They tried, and you heard my sister, she said they would come. Dudley, do you have the documentation for that land? And he would say yes. They realized they couldn't pull that in to be part of the indigenous reservation. So that's one of the foresight that my dad had. When my dad died, he just died. He was 100 years and 7 months old when he died. As soon as my dad died, the state placed that piece of land into the indigenous reservation, unbeknownst to us. And we didn't know. We were unaware that they did that. By chance, we happened to find out that they placed that into the indigenous reservation with the idea to take it away from us. That's some of the stuff that's going on that we have to fight for. And again, because of that insight that my dad had of titling that land, we have a better chance of recouping our land, but we gotta fight. So that's a little bit of what we have to fight. Laylee, my daughter, my sister, a lot of people in the community, we have to fight for our lands because our dads, like my sister was saying, they worked too hard. They didn't have resources. There were no machetes. There were no chainsaws. Everything was done with what we call elbow grease.
That's right.
So we have to fight to keep our lands.
And I really thank you for that because it segues right into, again, the organization Solo Nos. When we started with anthropology and helping people, we first came to Costa Rica, as we were doing work from before since 2014. But when we got home 2019, right before COVID. So when COVID came, we went in overdrive with the association. And my aunt was here at the time, my cousin Cassandra, who's not here. And we went straight to Cahuita, to La Cocina Comunitaria that they had there. Shout out to the Skinners. They had a community kitchen for the whole community of Cahuita, which really served the whole community. Tuba Creek would come through, some people from Puerto, even San Clemente, por ahí por el Parque Vargas. And you had a few that would even come from Limon because the situation was really serious. And we came and we said, okay, Solo Nos on overdrive. We're going to get this food. We're going to deliver. We stayed. We helped cook. We helped serve. And it was such a beautiful moment. And we continue to provide them with food until today when they stopped, doing it after COVID. Now, I mentioned that because I wanted everyone to know that the root of Solo Nos is coming from the root of how my aunt and my mom said our community.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that. Like, in my experience dealing with you, it's exactly this that we're speaking about, because it is our grandfathers, it is our great grandfathers that made these roads. Outa coconut hucks, and so us not having access to our own beach, where we get our coconut oil, where we plant with coconuts, that is how we filled our streets, we made our drains, but it's the same type of relationship, because it is this community. So even in this, the within the social movement, within the community work that we will do, this is just really we keeping alive our ancestral customs.
Exactly.
Because these are, all of us here are from founding families. We're from ancestral families. And we see ourselves under attack. It's not just our land that's under attack. I feel as if we're being exterminated.
Exactly.
It's our customs. It's our culture, moving us from our land. So they have these different techniques.
Exactly.
I've been checking out a few different ones. Okay, so we have this from the sea, because you were saying we're all on the beach coast. Okay, so all of a sudden, the state is recuperating land. And I even see a lot of even people in the social movement, saying, oh, estas son tierras del Estado. No, estas no son tierras del Estado.
Absolutely not.
Estas son tierras nuestras, de nuestras familias ancestrales. These are our properties. This is our land. These are the territories of people of African descent. And the territory, to us, it's more than land. To them, it's land.
Exactly.
The territory is alive, and without us, this land does not thrive.
Exactly.
And vice versa. Outside of the land, when I'm in San Jose or I'm outside of home, I get sick, I come home because I have to drink some bush tea.
Exactly.
So even we see our culture, we see us in everything that we do. And so I had to jump in there because I see that. That is what's going on.
Absolutely. And this is where, bringing my son into it is also part of it. Yes. I grew up watching my grandfather. I remember when he had the cocoa. The barbecue to dry the cocoa, which was one of the last ones in Wolaba, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe
Mr.
even
Edgar have one.
Yes, he built one.
He built one. Yes, I remember those.
So that was.
You don't see raw anymore.
Hardly. And so my point is just Solo Nos then began to, feed people. Then we began to help women. And Solo Nos as an association is not only for the Afro community, it's for all community.
Yes.
Because we help the indigenous, we help, expat community, we help everyone. But within Solo Nos, we created a commission called Pan-African Fellowship Costa Rica. And the reason why we named it Pan-African is because we wanted to give homage to our hero, Marcus Messiah Garvey, because of the principles of Pan-Africanism, which our ancestors also honored. I remembered even when I used to go Limon and seeing the ladies, the nurses with their black dress and their white gloves. So we grew up watching our parents as they watched their parents help people. My grandfather, I remember one day, I'm coming from States, migrating into trying to move back home. And I see a gentleman indigenous gentleman, one of our brothers from the hills, right?
Yes.
And he's passed out after having a good time drunk on our porch at my grandfather's pieza, on the pieza, right? On the pieza. And I get up and I say, but who this man? I say, abuelo, somebody here so lean off on the pieza and we have to run him and him drunk. My grandfather said, you leave him alone because that's so-and-so, and they know that they're safe on his pieza. So these Indians, some of them would come down to some of our ancestors, like my grandfather, and I'm sure some of our other fathers and parents, and they would come down, buy their rations, as my aunt explained it, and leave their rations and everything at my grandfather's pieza, and they knew it was safe. And when them want to sleep, them come to Abuelo land and them sleep, them recoup, them get tea in the morning, and then go up the hill. So Solo Nos was born out of legacy, out of tradition. And the reason why I added pro-tribal is because I'm sure that it has to be another organization in support of our tribal communities, which many of you need to learn what that means.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Now, the other important thing that I wanted to talk about was also our schooling and how education was so critical to us and how important, the importance that our parents and grandparents gave the education. A lot of them them didn't have no education. Most of them didn't even go to school, but they knew the value of education and training the child in the way that they should go. So one of the things that they focused was to teach us mostly respect. That was first and foremost. You had to learn to respect everybody, not only your elders. You had to go to school, and one of the important things, because of the heritage that we have, we had English school. English school was very important, and English school was actually the most important thing that helped us in our generation to get by. We had to go to Spanish school and everything, but the level of education that we got in our English school was way past beyond what they taught us in Spanish school. That by the time I get to Spanish school, I was like, what is this?
I know this already.
What is this? Because all of that stuff, we had it covered. And the important thing that was, that make us remember this, UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, was critical and was a foundation for our community as a whole. All of it, of course, you remember the UNIA school. The school that we went to was in the UNIA yard. And everything was on point. All the children of our community went to this English school. We had one teacher. He was strict, but he didn't play. And he made sure that the children them learn. It was not matter that if you're going to learn, you were going to learn. You know, and the technique that he used and everything. So we want to kind of focus back on these things, ancestral things, to bring us back where we need to go. What do you say, Yoli?
Absolutely. And this is why before my mom speaks, I made sure that was another thing we started with Solonos, and you were very much involved, the English school, because I knew that was very important. It's just part of our legacy. It's our tradition.
Yes.
So I just want to elaborate a little bit on that English school, because when you say English school, it sounds like, okay, English school, so what? What does that mean?
It wasn't just English school.
Let's talk about English school as we know it.
People.
When we went to English school, what we call English school, it meant spelling, it meant the meaning of the word, reading and comprehension, it meant math, arithmetic, that's what the geography, science, social studies, in what we call English school then. And then we started that with different levels. So you have, you know, if you were younger, very young, you started with the first primer. Those were these British
English books.
English books that they used to teach us that stuff. And then once you graduated from that, then you move up to infant reader. And then when you graduated from that, you went up to the Reader's Digest, and so on. And then you did the first book, then you did the second book, third, fourth, up to fifth. So by the time you got to the fifth level, you was very advanced. So you know the spelling, how to spell words, the meaning of a word, how to create a sentence, nouns, pronouns, adjectives, preposition, verb, adverb, the whole bit, and how to use that. Things that they didn't necessarily teach us that way in the Spanish school. So English school, what we know as English school today, is very different from the English school that we went to. We had to, make a line. It was like and then we did spelling. And if you miss a spelling, they put you down to the end of the line because you didn't know how to spell. Once you got your spelling right, you come back up to the head of the line. So it was very different, but you learn. It wasn't about just passing you because your family was so-and-so or so. You didn't know it. And the teachers there were, you heard my sister, strict, meaning you could be beaten if you didn't do whatever. They had a strap, a belt, a whip, and you got to do what you got to do. The boys come in with their hair. The teacher pass a pencil in their hair.
Sure,
and if that pencil stops somewhere,
You didn't comb your hair.
you that means you didn't comb your hair. Okay, so the Rasta that didn't exist back then. Oh no. Okay, so yeah,
Was important because
Yes.
they taught us you need to. Oh, the health portion was extremely important because when you come to school, you make your line and teacher check your nails, check your teeth, check your toes, make sure that your ears are clean and that you are properly attired. You couldn't.
And could you tell them when you say check your clothes, what they were checking for? Because nobody hire clothes no more. So,
hey,
your
yes,
crease.
no,
Tell
yes.
the people thing,
When you come to school, you had to come. Even though a lot of kids didn't have shoes and everything, you had to come to school and your toes needed to be cut and clean. Your nails couldn't be long and scraggly. You had to be clean. You had to be properly attired, which means your clothes had to be pressed. You're not coming to school with no wrinkle up clothes and wrinkle up shoes and wrinkle up pants and things like that. No, and you better smell good because if you come to school and you smell stink and your hair don't comb, teacher going to take you out in the line and send you home. Okay? And you're going to get a beating to and make sure so that you know when you come into school, you need to come here properly. So
I think
that
we
was
missed-
very important.
I think we missed one thing, the shoes. Because shiny.
And if you had on shoes, the shoe had to be shined. And even though we didn't have polish them time, we had shoe black. And everybody knows that you can shine your shoes with shoe black. Okay. So you didn't have no excuse. No excuse. Yes.
We're losing.
Yes.
I didn't know about the shoe black, fish eye in the shoes. You see, so much of what we're losing already. All right, now hearing your explanation about the English school, no, that make a lot more sense to me. My father, who, I must say, was very prosperous in his life, business-wise and whatnot. The schooling he received was up to 5th grade in English school. That's the school him gone to.
Yes.
He was advanced.
And it's so much.
And arithmetic was Longman's
All of
arithmetic,
these.
which nowadays nobody knows except for us.
You still know that.
Yes.
And I have a story with Mr. Dudley. When you were speaking about that story with the indigenous man on him porch. Well, back in the days I used to do all kinds of things. And I ended up I got intoxicated. I make some mix them beer that you should never do. I get intoxicated. And we were actually having a dinner with a few friends, and Mr. Dudley was there, and Mr. Dudley carried me by him house and he make a remedy with some evaporated
What we
milk
call
and some next
concoction.
thing, he make a concoction. I feel brilliant after that.
Wow.
But this, so many things in our culture. All right, the education one is a very strong one. I don't know if I've shared with you yet, but the art gallery upstairs, we expanding this into an academy.
Wonderful.
So definitely that's something that I would love for us to do together and incorporate
tradition.
with Solonos.
I'm all yours.
And with our writing and our schooling, working on a collection of children's books. They are about the laws, decrees, and regulations that we have here in Costa Rica and international laws that apply to people of African descent in our community. Each story is mixed up with, it has aspects of one of the founding families, you know.
Beautiful.
So maybe one of them can be a visit to Mr. Dudley.
Absolutely.
Something so. I would love to do that. The previous interview that we had was with a local artist, you know, who will be illustrating some of this with us. But even, it's like how you say, everything we do is to keep our culture, our identity, our dignity alive. How these people going to tell us we can't fix our house? This is just, we can't do that.
No, we don't live that way.
You can't come into my house and my house like clean up and polish and things. It's just, we don't act that way. So in these stories, we're telling about the laws.
That's good.
Each book is dedicated to a particular law.
Beautiful.
And a particular family. And it has the whole day or the whole week what you're going through, because you wake up in the morning and you go beard sea and you drink your bush tea and you know, and you tend to this, maybe even your you know, is somebody having them baby and it's Miss Loretta come over to help.
Absolutely.
And but yes, and I know this case now, what the state doing, especially with a property on the hill. What kind of argument them come up with to even fathom something like this? Because they do that same thing now up in Cooklis with all of these as title properties, you know, that they're saying is indigenous territory. Us and the indigenous people, we never have any quarrel.
Exactly.
We're friends. We live together.
They didn't tell them they wanted
We're
our
family.
land.
And originally, because it's the second time they do this, the first time the elders of the indigenous said, no, that's not our land.
Exactly.
And now they try again.
Allow me to answer that a little bit.
Yes.
A little bit that what I know. The reason why we think, or our communities and all of us think they're doing this, they have rediscovered our area. So they want to, Guanacaste and all the area in the
side.
Pacific is saturated now. So they have rediscovered, they see the potential. So that's an excuse to talk about reservation and indigenous, make it sound good to take our land. And we just simply cannot allow it. End of conversation.
Mic drop.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, as you mentioned that, it put me in the mind of something that happened recently with the Gandoka situation. No, we
Talk about
have
it.
that farm that is up on the hill. We have a lot of different resources there. We cut trees, you know, to build our houses and everything. The house that we grew up in, my father cut those lumber from the farm and he built that house with his hand. Now, every time you want to go there, if you want to cut one tree to do something to fix the house or anything, all in a sudden the government come in and telling you, oh, you can't cut your tree, and they know they want to take away your saw, they want to take away your tools, and they make it extremely difficult for us. I ask myself, how is it that this situation happening in Gandoka where they cut down how many thousands worth of trees, hundreds of trees, in an area that is
Reserved
reserved
and protected.
and we are not cutting down trees for commercial reason, just to do whatever you have to do for your family. And this is the kind of result that we have. The other thing that we're concerned about is we know that them talking about progress and a lot of people coming in and whatever it is. People come in, they're buying land and they're doing this and that. They're cutting down the resources. What about medicine? How did they take care of us when we were little? We never run to the doctor every minute. everybody here knew how to use their herbs and their resources that they had. If you had a baby and you had a problem, the matron know what to give you. You made your own medicines. And our ancestors teach us, this good for this good for that, this good for your kidney. If you have an eye problem, use the man-to-man. If you have this, you use cold food. If anybody get cut, I remember this man get chopped with the axe. He didn't go to the hospital nor nothing. They use herbs. The lady get the coffee grind, put it in the thing. She gets some of the leaf or some, tie up the thing, and in less than no time, the man thing was healed. But this is very important, and we're going back. We have lost a lot of that, but we are still, the few of us that are here, trying to focus back and regaining whatever is left and starting to teach the others, because that is critical that we learn how to take care of ourselves in this way.
And it's very important that she said that, because even within the program that you're developing, definitely there can be a collaboration. There has to be a collaboration for the simple reason of the herbs that Tia is talking about.
Yes.
I have definitely been taking more studies, even under some of the other elders that are more experts in the herbs.
Yes.
And I remember whenever I do my classes with some of the kids, the first thing that I do is teach them to just look in the distance and tell me what they see. And they'll tell me, they say, well, I just see bush. So I just start simply by teaching them to recognize each leaf. Within this little patch, there might be 30 or 20 leaves, and you need to know which ones are medicine. So we definitely do that. And I'll leave that topic by saying this. COVID. We know that we have vervain and other bush that is good for COVID. Our beaches are full of herbal medicine. And in the spirit of wanting the tourists to be comfortable and wanting to beautify the place, they're chopping down the beaches and chopping down a lot of the medicines that we use to cure ourselves, and that the animals come down from the mountains to the beach to find, to heal themselves. So I just wanted to point that out. Our lands are very important. Everything that we do, everything that mostly people see and think that we just do it for fun, is tradition, is our culture, and it must be respected.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So beautifully said. Let me pass you the...
Lastly, and this is very important to me too, when we're talking about culture, we respect everybody's culture, and everybody's culture is different. Whatever it is that we have, why is it that everybody always want to come and infiltrate and take over what they don't even know? Because one of the things that is dear to my heart, and it really is grievous to me, well, we can use the example of, look at the this time of the year that we're celebrating, the year of the Afro-descendant, right? Okay, it started out where the community, they would get together, dress up, they would go out in community, have a little celebration, remember their ancestral roots, practice, eat some of our ancestral food and everything. It became a beautiful thing, and now everybody else wants to take it over. Even people who are not Afro-descendant, because they have different reasons, different purposes, which is, financial, commercial. All of that is good, because we are a people, we are a giving set of people. We always try, and we're resilient, we're helpful, we're kind, and we love to share. But let me tell you something, what is ours is ours. And people have to start to learn to respect that.
Absolutely.
Because when other people, and we are the only set of people, I think, in this world that were never racist to say, well, this is ours and we not want to share it and everything. Everything that we've had, everybody has come and had a part and share. But at this point, I think it's time for people to understand that you have to respect us. Give us the respect that we deserve. Whenever we want to do our cultural thing, it's supposed to be our culture. We don't appreciate everybody else trying to come and try to take it over.
Well said, Tia.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
said.
you very much. And absolutely, like the saying, nothing for us without us.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I like that. We must put that on a T-shirt.
We're putting it
and give it away.
I heard it at one of these Afro meetings, you know, and so that's why I am so
love that.
emphasized that us here from our museum, from our homes, that we create, we record our stories.
Exactly.
They are for us and they're done by us.
Exactly.
So, well, we're going to be wrapping up this lovely, lovely evening. I
Yes.
could stay here and speak
All
with you
day.
all night.
Part
so just
two
part
coming
two.
up. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for
What
the
an
space.
honor to have you here. This is your home. You're welcome. Anything you want to do here, this space, it's open to you.
Thank
It's
you.
open to all of us in our community. And yes.
The last thing I just want to say is, please, community, please, world outside leaders and everyone who will see this, follow us at Solo Nos CR on Instagram and YouTube. We have a movement called Afro Truth Costa Rica, which is exactly what the sister's talking about, telling our story, us, for us, by us. Because when somebody else tells it, it's just going to be different. And we want to make sure that the world starts to hear from us. Thank you for the space, Laylee. Hey, baby.
Thank you so much for having us today, and we really enjoy this. And we just want everyone to know that we have to be forthright. We have to come forward. We have to tell our stories and let the world know that we're here. This is not our shadow. We are here, and we just want to make
Respect
sure
our
that the
place.
community and that everybody is involved in what understand the struggle that we're going through, but we're never going to give up, and we always put God first.
And never gonna give in, because we're coming in from the coast.
Coming in from
Bob
the
Marley
coast.
said we're coming in from the
That's
coast.
it.
Thank you, Laylee.
Thank you so much for joining us. And this space, as daughters and mothers of the Caribbean, this space is for all of us. Thank you.
Blessed. Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.